The Chicago Bulls fall to the Milwaukee Bucks 126-110. We're going to be talking about the key takeaways from tonight's loss. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Giannis Buzelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we're talking about the key takeaways from tonight's loss against the Milwaukee Bucks. And so I always like to start with the theme of the game, and I think that there are two that come to mind from this game. And so the first one being Giannis. Giannis from the Milwaukee Bucks was terrific tonight. There was really no answer for him. I think that the Chicago Bulls did a good job initially slowing him down, but Giannis really took over this game for the Milwaukee Bucks. He had 41 points. He was plus 16 in the plus minus box score. He had 2 blocks, 2 steals, 9 assists, 15 rebounds. He was 8 of 11 from the free throw line and 16 of 32 from the field. And so Giannis completely dominated. He was able to really get what he wanted to. He got some and ones. He continued to kind of tip the ball to himself on misses and things like that. And so the Bulls really didn't have an answer for him or really Miles Turner. I think that Miles Turner had a good night as well. And so just really between Giannis and Miles Turner, both of those players had good nights tonight. So next, I think the next point out of this game is just really a learning experience. That's exactly what I'm thinking of, from this game. It was just really lessons learned for the Chicago Bulls in physicality, because I think that when you look at this, you will see that the Milwaukee Bucks were a bit physical as far as getting downhill and just kind of bullying and getting to those rebounds that they needed to get to. And so this was really a lesson in physicality for the Chicago Bulls. I think that they certainly played hard. They came out there and they came with the right energy. And so that was something that I was thinking about with this team coming into this one. Like, would they be, amped up for this game after coming back against the Philadelphia 76ers? And the answer was yes. I think that this team really responded well. They were up early and then they were leading, and it took the Milwaukee Bucks until the second quarter to get the lead. And even then, the Bulls were battling with them. And so you look at the final score of the 126-110, and I think it was a bit closer than what it is showing. And so I do like the fight that we saw from the Bulls, but I really think that that was really the big difference here. It was just the physicality, for the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Chicago Bulls today. And so a learning lesson there. And so next, I wanted to go ahead and jump into the MVPs on the night. And so, look, there's 2 players that really stood out, for the Chicago Bulls tonight. And so the first one being Josh Giddey. And so with Josh Giddey today, look, he had another double-double in this one. And I think that Josh Giddey was pretty steady, I think, throughout the game. I think that he did a terrific job really in kind of setting the table today. So you see that he had the 14 assists, but 16 points. Now, he was -6 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 4 turnovers. He was 2 of 4 from the free throw line, and so left a little money there. 2 of 5 from downtown and 6 of 14 from the field. But still, you can see that Josh Giddey continues to get downhill, doing a great job as far as finding teammates and getting them into scoring opportunities. Didn't have the biggest night on the glass tonight, so just 7 rebounds. But again, I liked his effort throughout the game. Next, Giannis Buzelis. And so with Giannis Buzelis, I was very impressed with him throughout the live, play-by-play that I did here. I thought that Giannis Buzelis really came out and set the tone. He was getting some easy buckets. And then he also, too, at one point didn't miss a shot. And so when you look at his field goal percentage today, look, he was 8 of 13 from the field. He was 2 of 6 from deep. He was 2 of 2 from the free throw line. And what I liked most, besides the points that he scored today with the 20, was the rebounds. And so he had 8 rebounds. And so just too shy of a double-double for himself. And so I did like what he was doing as far as going out and rebounding, especially with the defensive rebounds today. He had 6 of those. And then he also had 2 steals, 3 assists, and the 1 block. And so the 1 block that he had was nice. I mean, he came back, just coming back in the play from guarding his man at the top side, and he's able to get a help block. I believe it was on Miles Turner. And so that was a terrific play. He did have 3 turnovers. He was -2 in the plus-minus box score. And so those were the 2 players that really stood out for us. And so next, just kind of going into the rest of the starters tonight. And so starting with Vooch tonight. And so with Vooch, I thought that he was solid for the most part. I mean, 16 points, a -11 in the plus-minus box score, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. He also shot 2 of 3 from downtown and 7 of 13 from the field. And so with Vooch, man, you could just tell that he continues to just kind of be steady. He's playing off of others. He's not really forcing it and things like that. I think that really, between him and the team, they've got to also make sure that they continue to get Vooch on the box, especially when he gets those mismatches and things like that. But I think for the most part, look, Vooch kind of playing off of Josh Giddey and everybody else who was cooking here. And so can't complain with that. Would like to see him hit the boards a little bit more, but still, it was a tough matchup today against Giannis and Miles Turner. And so next, going into Tre Jones. And so Tre Jones here, I think that for him, he really turned it on in the second half because he really didn't have very much going on in the first half. He finished with 17 points, and a lot of that came in the second half. And so -10 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 4 assists, always active with the steals. And so he got 1 today. And he also had the 5 rebounds, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 0 of 2 from deep, and 6 of 10 from the field. And so a solid percentage there. And Tre Jones, look, he was very, just crafty in getting to the layups and things like that. And so he's always good when he's going through traffic and everything else. And I do like how he tried to pick it up in the second half. There was one play where he was picking up full court, dives on the floor, didn't quite get to the ball, but you could really feel the effort. You could feel his energy turn up in the second half. And so next, I think the player that had the toughest night for the Chicago Bulls to me was Isaac Okoro. And so with Isaac Okoro, you see he had the 6 points, -13 in the plus-minus box score. He had the 4 personal fouls, which was big. He had 3 of those in the first half. He had 1 block. He had 1 steal. And in 17 minutes, 3 of 6 from the field and 0 of 2 from deep. And so he did get a little bit of a spark in the second half and kind of got some things going there. But for the most part, I think that Isaac Okoro was really out of the game because he was battling with Giannis, and Giannis, again, just kind of took it to the Bulls, and especially Isaac Okoro. And so, he gave his best effort out there, but just could not avoid the fouls and everything else. And so I think that completely threw him off rhythm today. Next, Jalen Smith, he ends his streak there of consecutive double-digit games. And so 7 points today, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, -5 in the plus-minus box score, 17 minutes, 3 of 6 today, and 0 of 2 from deep, and 1 of 2 from the free throw line. And so for Jalen Smith, I thought that he started off initially well, but then just kind of tapered off in this game. And so, definitely could have used a little bit more physicality here from Jalen Smith. But again, the bigs, the interior of the defense was really challenged by the Milwaukee Bucks. Patrick Williams, 6 points, -2 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 6 rebounds today, 2 of 4 from downtown and 2 of 6 from the field in 23 minutes. And so with Patrick Williams, look, you can tell that he's definitely settled in with this role off the bench. And I think that he continues to be, assertive at moments and things like that. But you'll take it with the 6 rebounds today, just not the best effort from the bench mob today. Kevin Huerter, who was our best player off the bench. And so I thought that he did a good job as far as just really coming in, being assertive. He didn't just necessarily sit on the 3-point line. He was active. He had the 5 assists tonight. And so 13 points, -10 in the plus-minus box score. He's 5 of 13 from the field and 2 of 2 from the free throw line. And so good activity from Kevin Huerter. And then with Dosumu, a welcome back moment here today for him. Played 20 minutes. I think that the plan was to get him out there no longer than 24 minutes. I believe that's what they were saying there on the broadcast. And so 7 points for him, 2 steals, 3 assists, -9 in the plus-minus box score, and 3 of 6 from the field. and 1 of 3 from downtown. And so I think that with Ayo Dosumu, he looked pretty okay. I think for him, it's just kind of getting his legs back underneath him and kind of getting into that rhythm and that flow that he had early here. And so, just a tough one here for the Chicago Bulls. But like I said, we were led by Josh Giddey and Modest Buzelis. But the bottom line here is it just wasn't enough tonight, for the Chicago Bulls. Again, I thought that Giddey did a great job as far as kind of getting downhill, getting to the rim, and then also, too, finding others. And Modest Buzelis, man, I loved how he was aggressive tonight, just really didn't hesitate. And, man, you could tell that he's definitely growing here in year number 2 with the Chicago Bulls. And so, good to see that he kind of got things going after some tough games there offensively tonight. And so next, jumping into the team box score and just looking at some of the key takeaways from that. And so starting with the field goals today for the Chicago Bulls. And so the Bulls shot 48.9% today, which is not bad, comparatively speaking to the Milwaukee Bucks, who shot 46.6%. And so the Bulls did a great job there. As far as just the other percentages here, so looking at the 3-point percentage today, that's where the Bulls struggled. 10 of 33 today, 30.3%. You see that the Milwaukee Bucks shot 41%, 16 of 39. And so I think that really Ryan Rollins and these guys like that did a good job, really, I think, in playing off of Giannis and just getting to some certain pockets and spaces here, kind of caught the Bulls kind of walling up a little bit, and they got some open space, and they took advantage of that. Then when it came down to the free throws today, and so Giannis, look, he got to the free throw line. I mean, essentially carried the Bucks there. And so 18 free throws for them today, 14 of 18, 77.8%. The Bulls got there 16 times, shot 75%. You see that the Bucks out-rebounded the Bulls today, 53-45. I thought that was really a telling stat, for the Milwaukee Bucks, because look at the offensive rebounds. It felt like if the Bulls could have just got some more of those defensive rebounds and closed out those just possessions and not given the Milwaukee Bucks, just these opportunities to get these tips and just kind of battle through, just contact and get to the free throw line, that maybe could have been a bit of a difference here today. And so, I think that was key. Milwaukee Bucks win in that category. The assists were there for the Bulls. The ball was definitely hopping. So 34-27 in that category. So that's a good job taking care of business. 10-9, the Bucks lead in the steals today. 6-3 with the blocks today. Milwaukee leads in that. And then the turnovers here, 14-11. You see that the Milwaukee Bucks there, they got 19 points off of the turnovers for the Bulls. And so it's never good when you lose the turnover battle like that. And then as far as the fast breaks today, 21-16 for the Chicago Bulls. And so they were able to get some runs. I also think, too, as well, that, some of this was kind of slowed down from the zone defense that they saw from the Milwaukee Bucks at time. And so I think that kind of slowed them down a little bit. 62-60, the Bulls win in the paint battle there. And so you see the biggest lead, too, for the Bulls was 8. And so, like I said, they were up at one point, but then the Milwaukee Bucks were able to respond, and ultimately their biggest lead was 17. And so I think the bottom line here for the Chicago Bulls is just lessons learned today for them, as they will have to now make adjustments and get ready for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But, I think that this team certainly fought hard, and I think that, it was a great response based off what they did with the Sixers. And so now, you've got to go ahead, you've got to throw this game out. And that this next game, it's going to be physical as well, because you have, two bigs with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they're going to test the interior here of the Chicago Bulls. And so let's see if they can lock in with that energy, come back out and get a win here, because this is also going to be a test, not just physically, but mentally here with this team to lock in like this, because you have got to answer, when you get knocked down on the mat like this throughout the season. That is exactly what winning teams do. And so the Bulls still learning through it. today, a tough loss today. And so you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking as far as your key takeaways here from this loss. And so once again, the Chicago Bulls fall to the Milwaukee Bucks 126-110. We will be talking about the Chicago Bulls versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll definitely be doing a post game. Perhaps we might be hopping on the live here. You guys let me know in the comments what you guys thought about that. And as we always say, look, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.